Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is Stephen D. Kelley. This is the Stephen D. Kelley Show. It is, well, this is First Truth Cat Radio, www.truthcatradio.com. But it's December 2nd, 2021. It's now 6:01 p.m. First show of December of 2021. Going to be 2022 pretty soon. Not ready for that yet. Going to be dying before you know it, but that's why it's that much more important to focus on getting the mission done as quick as possible. So, obviously, that's what it's all about. And the title of tonight's show is Allie Carter, Victim, Survivor, or Accomplice, Material Witness. Well, if you're not in the Telegram group, or you're not following me on Twitter, you probably missed a little bit of drama that happened, a few days ago, I guess it was. I'm not sure, maybe Monday, I can't remember exactly. But what happened was I saw something somebody had shown me. I think it was from an Instagram or something that this Allie Carter person had posted, and it kind of triggered me. I think what triggered me was when I first, I'll just be honest with you, when I first saw the photo, I didn't really know what it was. And I saw this two faces, two women. One of them was a black girl, one of them was a white woman, and the black girl had a really nice smile. I thought, oh, what a nice smile. And I looked a little closer, and I was trying to figure out what the context of why this was being sent to me was. And I saw this thing that said, Diamond Survivor. I thought, what's that? It sounded like Amway for a second. Anyway, hi everybody, it just popped in this second. So I realized pretty quick though that this was Allie Carter, the victim or the alleged person that went down under the Getty and got to experience all these things. And as you may not know, if you listen to my show, you'll know that I talked about her a little while back when I originally had a run-in with her. I'm not going to say run-in, but I was exposed to her. So tonight, well, let's just say back to the drama. I said some things. I made some memes. And if you're on Twitter, like I said, you would have seen them. But basically what I came out and said was, well, for fun, I should read the memes to you. It wouldn't be too hard for me to, hold on, if I can find that right mouse. Here we go. Well, this particular meme triggered her really badly, apparently. And her mother, or whatever it is, that woman is, her handler, her adopted mother. Where is that meme? There it is right here. And I came to a conclusion, and this is something that's been floating around, but I never really articulated it because I had a lot of hope that this person was going to help us quite a bit with our mission. And I was willing to overlook a lot of things. But this basically, the meme said, no victim walks out of the Getty bunker unless they have killed other children. Allie Carter is one of them. Now, I don't really want to make this all about her because I think at this point, she's being used. She's a tool. She's MK Ultra, whatever. And obviously there's a little bit more going on, and perhaps she's being forced to do these things that she's doing. But if she wasn't being forced to do this, then it would turn out that she's something else, an opportunist seeking to promote her, I think it's dancing, that's her thing that she does, with an injection of notoriety coming from this Getty thing. Now, before I dive into this too deep, I'm going to say right away that even Satan uses half-truth at least 50% of what you're going to hear will be fact, will be true. The rest of it will be bullshit. Now, it's very telling what is being said, of what's being said, because if you, for instance, when she talked about going under the Getty and what it was like when the elevator door opened and what it was like pretending to be a student on a field trip with her adult escort and going into the little garden door down into the elevator that took her to the subterranean bunker. This all sounded very realistic. And I'm suspecting that that portion is the truth. Now, even the stories of her victimhood at the hands of her various, well, whoever it was, I don't know what her parental situation was, but apparently the mother essentially was pimping her and had relationships with law enforcement. It's really kind of difficult for me because I don't really want to spend too much time going over her history, but the bottom line is that she's a victim. Well, I didn't realize it, but apparently she has quite a history. And when she came into contact with me, decided to refuse any help that she could either provide or I could provide for her, with the excuse that somehow I was too spiritual, and I think this had something to do with the Jedi stuff that we do. But what really happened was the witchcraft came out, and she actually rejected Jesus. I asked her, I said, "Do you love Jesus?" She said, "I'm trying to." Now, this, of course, was not a good answer, but I really wanted her to help us because I believed that this person really had been down there, and I thought that as a witness, as a material witness, that she could provide evidence, she could provide clues, she could provide information to help us connect the dots and to create a more vivid picture of that thing that we're trying to expose to the world. So I was willing to overlook a lot of stuff. I did ask her if she made any contracts. I didn't want to ask her if she killed anybody, but deep down, I was willing to overlook anything, almost, providing that she was helping. She would be doing everything she can to help. And of course, we would do everything we could to help her. Now, during the time that this was going on, these conversations, she basically said that her and her adoptive mother were running away from a pimp. And she made it seem like she was somewhere on the east coast of the country and that she had moved away from the LA area. And this was because of some pimp in the LA area that was out to get her. This is really all I knew about the girl. That and the fact that she went on the Charlie Ward show. Now, Charlie Ward, of course, we know is a massive purveyor of misinformation and COINTEL. He's one of the biggest. And even after I told her what Charlie Ward was, she said, well, we're going to go do his show again. Now, needless to say, it turned out that the whole time this was going on, the mother person, this Carter, mother, Betty, whatever her name is, was listening to the call, which was strange, of course, to me, because I'm thinking I'm talking to an adult here. I think she's 27, 29, something like this. And I'm used to dealing with people that actually have control of themselves and don't have older figures. I mean, even if it was a mother at this age, that would be kind of strange to have a mother listening in and guiding your responses and how long you could actually stay on the phone call. Well, being a handler, this makes even more sense. But this, of course, was one of the problems with dealing with her. And then, of course, in response to the phone call, I got an email from the mother who basically said they weren't going to deal with me for whatever reason. Now, I bitched about this a little bit on the show. Never really said much beyond that. And then, of course, I get this thing brought to my attention that she started this group on Telegram. Now, right away, I see there's something like 9,000, 9,800, close to 10,000 members. There's probably quite a bit more now. I don't look, obviously, but I thought, what the hell? This girl's actually got a serious presence here. And of course, the name of this was Diamond Survivor. So right away, I have a problem with that, and not because I'm jealous, because she's got whatever, she's make this personality cult built around her victimhood. But I just knew that this was the enemy, and this was something to do with the enemy, and the purpose of this girl doing this was detrimental to our mission, especially since she wasn't going to work with me. Now, I'm only now even looking at some of the things that she's actually doing. I don't want to think that this is a complete departure, but apparently I find out tonight that she is, we're trying to get some sort of a dancing thing going on. And I assume what this means is she has a group of people, whatever they do some sort of choreography in front of a camera and maybe put this on TikTok. I have no idea what she does, what she does to make money using this. But at the same time, she's got this victimhood thing going on. And apparently she did an interview with some politician woman. And I don't know how this woman, whatever, but the only thing I really listened to her was the Charlie Ward interview. So my impression of that was that the girl was very heavy on the abuse that she had to deal with as a child and her programming and how the various pimps and whatever, took advantage of her. And of course, there's the story of what happened under the Getty when she did this. Now, that's all I care about. How she can help me with this mission for the Getty. But what's hurting is when you're driving a whole lot of people to focus on this victim thing. And I went over this quite a bit with the whole super soldier business and how these people basically, whether what they were talking about was fantasy or not, how everything revolved around some trauma that they experienced, that they had to experience, that they won't let go of, that now they've got some Stockholm syndrome and some sort of narcissistic needs to be pitied or made to feel special. So that concept or that personality dysfunction is something that we've already had to address once already with a group of people that consider themselves quasi-pseudo-macho if they're trying to say that they're involved in some sort of astral combat pseudo-soldier, whatever, that it's kind of comes off as whatever. But the point is that a person that has some sort of a fractured personality that's been traumatized physically, violently, sexually, whatever, mentally, will create these personas, will create fictions, and will create fantasies. But what's most important is they become victims, professional victims. Now, in this case, of course, she's referring to herself as a survivor. The word survivor, of course, has different connotations in its own, which is only slightly connected to the concept of a victim. A victim we would expect to be someone that didn't make it. they were the ones that were hurt. In this case, under the Getty, we know that thousands and thousands and thousands of victims go through the process. Now, if you listen to Allie Carter's story about when she goes down into the Getty, the first thing, of course, that really throws everything is the only name she seems to be able to bring up in her alleged experience down there, and I assume this only happened once, was the Biden, Joe Biden. Now, right away, to me, that seems like kind of a partisan thing, and that's a big clue as who's really behind this nonsense or who's really promoting this effort to try to get Allie to hijack the Getty mission. And trust me, this is a hijack. Well, first of all, I know personally from experience with the Getty Nazis, the cavers, the actual Nazis of the Getty, I know that they don't deal with the other side. Biden is not one of them. Biden's not a Nazi. Hillary Clinton is not a Nazi. Hillary Clinton's the other side of the coin. Biden is the other side of the coin. Obama is the other side of the coin. Trump, he's the Nazi side of the coin. Those guys, Ronald Reagan, Arnold Schwarzenegger, those guys, that's the Nazi side of the coin. Now, the Nazis never let Biden down there. That's just the way it is. And yet, that's the name they're going to throw out. So, I'm not saying Biden's not a pedophile. Of course he's a pedophile, but he's a petty pedophile compared to these other guys. Now, again, the image that you would get the idea of when you hear her talk, and of course everything she says is very vague, but what little she does describe basically sounds like there's an orgy going on. There's a bunch of celebrities and powerful people, and they're scattered around. Now, of course, remember, this is a city. It's not just a big room. It's a city. I'm pretty sure they probably may not have let her run around loose. But we're to believe that her handler, whoever it was at the time that was controlling her as a sex slave, I guess, Cement K Ultra, whatever sex slave, was taking her down there to provide her 15-year-old body for sex. This is what we're led to believe. Now, we're also led to believe that when this was done, that herself and possibly her handler, whoever it was that took her down there, retreated and left the premises and went back to whatever ghastly life she was living before this. So that right there is a big deal that needs to be considered, because they're going to have you believe that the little child MK Ultra sex slaves in general might be brought in and out, as if this is a surface thing and that armies of kidnapped children are not being held captive because the children are able to, the real survivors, the real victims are able to go back to their lives as hookers. I'm sorry, children on the surface. Now, so that's asking a lot to believe. So we have to kind of look at this as from the image that they may be appearing to try to project, because you got to wonder sometimes, are they enemy or are they stupid? You know, you got to look at the various options that why people, what motivates people to do what they do. Now, a lot of people that might have followed her story, Allison Leilani Carter, of course being the mother story, a lot of people have been following this a lot longer than me. And a lot of people think that she's just full of it. They think she's a liar. They think that's a scam. Now, of course, I never knew anything about her at all. I never heard any of that stuff, except that she's talking about the Getty. She's on Charlie Ward, who we know is a COINTEL liar who tries to tell people that children are being rescued. And she's on this show, of all shows, for a real-life Getty survivor, victim to be on. Either way, I was real excited to have her available and out there. But the point is that it can't be true. And the very fact that we've been doing so much work is why these people are even doing this at all. So if I really want to go to where I think this is coming from, to me, this is very similar to when the Mayflower movement was trying to take over the QAnon group. Ty, whatever that idiot's name was, and those guys. And then finding out that that was all tied to a big satanic network, all going back to Roger Stone, obviously going up to Trump at the same time. Well, we defeated those guys. We messed them up, but the whole idea was that they were trying really hard to stick this Thai guy in there to replace me. So this Lalani girl, or shall I say Alice and Allie, has apparently been chosen. And it would appear that this could be a good reason of why this person went through this at all, or why she was programmed or prepared or put into this persona to be used for this purpose. So it's really kind of a ingenious plan. Now, again, I have, without going into too far what I did, how I dealt with her and her state now, I want to look a little bit more of her history and some of the questions that we should be asking, first of all. Now, as I've said before on the other show, the information, the questions that she asked or answered for Charlie Ward, or the way she described going into the Getty, for me, it was vivid, but at the same time, it was lacking. It was highly lacking. And there's so much more. And obviously, as somebody that's actually interested in this subject matter and knows a little bit about what to expect down there, I needed to hear a lot more. Now, she also talked about the sacrifices and about the violence. And she talked about the shrines that would hold the bloody remains of some victim. She also talked about being on drugs the whole time. Now, this is very convenient, but it doesn't work for me. Now, without going too much farther into trying to talk about what she should have done, I'm going to say right off the bat that every single one of these so-called pedophiles, these cavers, these Illuminati, elitist, demonic types, they all started out as innocent children at one time. They were born into this. They were programmed for it. They were abused. They were traumatized. They were made into what they became. But eventually they become adults. And then it's a question of what they do next. So we know that they're all victims. And I know more than anyone else that there's more and more victims that are being disposed of on a daily basis. And this is why it bothers me so much when there's hundreds of thousands of victims, and it goes on and on and on for years and years and years, and yet you will focus on one of them like a cow in the middle of a slaughter yard, and you'll focus on that one and ignore all the other cows waiting to be killed or dead around you. And that one cow, you're not trying to learn from the cow to learn how to stop the killing. You're having pity on a victim. You're giving affection. You're giving attention to a victim. How is this helping? So the victim thing is, as we learned from the super soldiers, it's the first thing that's got to go. The narcissistic nonsense, it's got to go. This is a mission, a group effort. It takes an army. It's not about one person's suffering. Now, obviously, there's a lot of people that could talk about being, I know a lot of the people that listen to me, especially some of the people, the fans in our group, Occupy the Getty group, a lot of the women, you joined because you were victims. You were molested. You were abused. You know what it's like. You want to do something serious. You're not in my group to talk about what Uncle so-and-so or daddy or brother or whoever did to you, or pimps. That's not what this is about. We're not trying to provide a lurid sex show or a gossipy drama that you can tune into to hear lurid tales of abuse. This is not for voyeurs. So that's very disgusting. It's really kind of difficult. I don't really hate to waste time, and I'm really kind of over this silly girl now. I suppose I'll talk a little bit really quick here about my actions. Now, of course, when I went off on this girl and put out my memes, you got to remember, there's only 1,300 people in my group, roughly. So right away, they had something like 9,000 or something, close to 10,000, whatever following she had, or Instagram following, which is crazy since Facebook doesn't allow me in. But almost immediately, as soon as I made those memes, I got hit with the mother and possibly even some other one person using either the same card, but some of the people that had infiltrated our group suddenly piped in and started saying some, well, let's just say they started spewing some big paragraphs of venom towards me. Now, I was already very angry when this happened, and I immediately went off. And, of course, I used some extremely foul language on these silly women, in type, of course. And there was nothing they could do about it. And everything came out, including pictures of me with guns, basically saying, this is SDK saying, fuck off. Of course, I don't make some of these memes. Obviously, Rob did it. But the point is that I got hit with a please don't touch this. How could you dare say anything nasty about this poor little girl, this poor little victim? Now, this, of course, coming from some fans, some observers, people who had been sucked into her little cult, and also, of course, from her handler herself. And again, so when I went off on these people, I went off in a very explosive, masculine, misogynist way. And of course, this was very shocking for them and for the observers and for even the people in my own group. It was like a explosive shockwave that took place. Well, the thing is that, first of all, you have to understand that when I do things like this, it may seem like an emotional this or that, but the bottom line is, if you're going to know me for any kind of time at all, you're going to know that it's the right thing to do. It's how I roll. And what it was violence. Now, it wasn't implied violence because, of course, the girl came back and said that I was threatening her. Now, pictures of me with a gun is not threatening anybody, especially if I'm not saying anything. And, of course, Rambo doesn't exist in 3D. So if Rambo's angry with you, it's not on me. And history is history. Now, again, you're a little victim. You're a survivor, supposedly. This is her thing. Right away, this is coming off as being extremely weak. This is a weak little survivor. Now, what she's doing is she's building a cult of weakness, people fawning over the poor little injured animal. Little girl, little black girl, black child. You got a little BLM thrown in there for extra spice. But the thing is that it's only the latest flavor of COINTEL, and a whole bunch of people followed it. But it's not like I haven't seen this before. So when I exploded against these people, they weren't ready for that. But on top of that, the silly little girl, for at least a day or two after this all happened, was spreading my name all over the place, saying terrible things, saying how I was threatening her life, which of course made people want to come and see if it was true. So screenshots were taken. A lot of times stuff was taken out of context, but they still did it. But it turns out that there were a whole bunch of people out there that really didn't like her, that thought that everything she said was a lie, and they came flocking to me. Now, the thing is that, first of all, there's no such thing as bad publicity. I'm a firm believer in that. And I think that when it comes to content, when it comes to true background or substance, people aren't that clueless. Now the little girl here, Allison, again, other than having been an MK Ultra, other than having been a hooker for who knows how long, what else is she doing? She's dancing. She's dancing on a front of a camera. Okay, whatever. Okay, just probably she can make more money dancing other places. But the thing is that that's not a whole lot to offer there to the world. Now, me personally, I think that yes, she is a material witness. I think that what she said about the Getty, I think that that's enough right there to get her to have to actually go in and answer questions, at the very least to be deposed. Now, when she went out and said all these nasty things about me right away, first of all, I have to put that into contrast, and I want to remind people that I challenged the FBI. I filed a report with the FBI. I told them to investigate it or kill me. I don't know when this was, years and years ago. But this argument that there's nobody there to help. When she was a young girl and she was walking through the Getty and she was on drugs and she was being taken to that door that led down to the chamber and she had her little handler, how come she didn't scream out? How come she didn't run to the nearest mother and say, help me, this guy's a pimp, help me? Well, of course, she'll tell you that because right away somebody from the LAPD would show up who's corrupt and would return her directly to her pimp or her handler. Well, that's not necessarily true. You have to be a little more of a fighter if you truly are in a bad situation. Otherwise, you are this little silly victim. So again, the American way, we want to fight. The lack of her ability to make any attempts to do that before these things happened, during her life, or even afterwards, it's a stark contrast to myself. When I put all those pictures of guns out there and said, not a victim, this kind of thing, as a challenge, it wasn't just a challenge to her. It wasn't a threat to her. It's a very vivid display of a challenge to these so-called powers that be that they're so afraid of. Now, yes, we are in a fight against the most powerful forces in the physical world. So if you don't understand just how bad that is, then you shouldn't be in the fight. But if you listen to this girl, you would think that she does understand. You'd think that her fear is based on her knowing that she's involved in a fight against these most powerful forces. Well, these powerful forces, they're not just physical. Obviously, these guys are practicing Satanism. She talks about witchcraft and astral projection in her experience. Well, why was she exposed to this? It's because she was one of them. Did this happen while she was involved with the Getty? Does this happen as a result of what happened after the Getty? The hard questions are, and you don't have to be a psychic to really figure this out, is that somewhere along the line, and most likely during her Getty experience, she was involved in a blood ritual. Now, because I've seen her ugly face, or her victim face, I know what she looked like when this was going on, and I know that she played the role of the killer. And it's really up to her to prove it otherwise. Because it's like the 100,000 children under the Getty. Yes, Allison, I think that you had to personally, with your own hands, kill another child or participate in the murder of another child. And I think that's the only reason why they let you out. And I think it's on camera. And I know that they film everything because that's what they do. That's their entertainment. When they're not killing children, they're watching videos of children being killed. But you already know that. So the bottom line is, somewhere along the line, from being a hooker, from being an MK Ultra mind control, from being supposedly released as a survivor from the Getty, from being on drugs, et cetera, somewhere along the line you supposedly decided that it's time to speak up. Now, of course, I could care less about your childhood. That's a whole story unto itself. But this Getty thing, it's not trivial like your childhood. It's not trivial like you. It's big. It has to do with the New World Order, the one world government, something truly bigger than yourself, something that leads to the death of hundreds of thousands, if not billions, eventually, of innocent lives. So in other words, it's the only thing in your life so far that has happened, and I suspect may have happened, that has any significance, that has value, that could actually assist other humans. But for whatever reason, it would appear that you're being used, either willingly or not, to fight against that actual purpose. So all of us that are fighting against this, we can take heart in knowing that the enemy is in such a desperate situation that they have to use a tool like you to actually do this, to try to hijack the narrative of the Getty, to try to turn it into some sort of casual orgy victim situation where the little girls are actually allowed to leave. Now, again, if it's true, if the picture that you're painting is true, and I assume this is why you're useful to them, it would suggest that there must be hundreds of thousands of people walking around just like you that have been through this experience, that are still alive. Now, when I was talking to you on the phone, you suggested that you weren't alone, that there were other victims out there, and that somehow, speaking on behalf of those victims, you didn't need me, which is interesting because it makes me wonder if they're alive, if they're able to actually speak about this on the surface with no fear of death, maybe they are controlled. Now, the very fact, and of course this is not something that she'll argue, this is whole part of her bio, is that she's MK Ultra. How are you ever expected to believe anything coming from the mouth of an MK Ultra? And on top of that, this is a woman who's been an adult now for many years, who was adopted by another adult, and it would appear while she was an adult for some reason. This is where, of course, the Carter name comes from. Now, I obviously suspect that this woman is a handler, this Carter woman. And I challenge all of the listeners or people out there to find out anything you can about this Carter woman, who's supposedly her social worker. Now, if she was a social worker in LA County, she must have some sort of history, some sort of an employment history with the county social services of some sort. Somebody must be able to find a Carter woman that was involved in that during this period of time. There's got to be some history. When she first told me that they were on the run from some pimp and they were far away from home, my first thought was, how is this social worker, woman, mother person supporting you if she's also on the run? This doesn't make a lot of sense. So there's obviously a lot more questions than there are answers. But I can only think the worst. And I think that if she did go down there, just from what she described, she must feel incredibly guilty for being allowed to leave. But I know the true scale of just how bad it is. So I suspect that what she was really exposed to was something too heinous to describe, and to go for so many years afterwards, never seeking justice. It's not very understandable. She'll tell you that she was sold from one mobster pimp to another. Unfortunately, none of this stuff adds up. At any time during her victimhood, she could have freed herself. She could have gone another direction, but she didn't. To me, that shows a complete lack of ability to use violence in your own defense. And that's what really makes this victim-survivor thing so distasteful. That there is no rage, there is no threat of violence, there's nothing but a fear and a lurid fascination with satanic activity. Nowhere do I see righteous anger, righteous fury. Is this girl angry? No. She's still whining about her childhood. She's 27. Has she gone after anybody? No. She's stuck on this, everyone's corrupt, no one will help. Well, no kidding. Of course the FBI is corrupt. Does that matter? No. You still make noise because you challenge them to do your job. You force them to do their job. And if not, you force them to do something to you about it. But if you're a victim and you're living in fear, that'll never happen. So what changed? Why is she suddenly not in fear? Why is she suddenly talking about doing a protest in Hollywood at the Chinese theater? Wait a minute, what's the last group that did a anti-pedo protest at the Chinese theater? That's right, it was those Satanists. That group that was put out there by Roger Stone and Rick Messina over there, and where was he living over there? Somewhere in a valley over there. El Monte? No, not El Monte. Anyway, yeah, the whole Thai group. Those guys, they went away. That all went away. So, again, this is pathetic. But I had to talk about it tonight because I had to warn you about the enemy's tactic to use the feminine against you, which is interesting considering that, of course, the enemy is Lilith. Ultimately, the final boss is Lilith. It's very feminine. But at the same time, you can't focus on the victim. You can't let someone hide behind gender. That's not cool. You certainly can't have it used against you. And you should be aware, you should have your eyes open enough to see it when it is happening. certainly I'm disappointed about that. But you all saw what happened. Now, again, I don't see the FBI knocking on my door because so-and-so felt that they were being threatened. But I did see her refer to me as some kind of quote-unquote Jedi Jesus. Now, of course, a few people, there was some memes created, and I did share one of them. But the point is like, how is that derogatory? I don't get it. Anyway. Again, I'm not even going to talk about the things she said because it's just not worth it. But the bottom line is that I've been associated with astral projection, of course, certainly because the Jedi are working in the astral. But you're dealing with Satanists. That's their world. How else are you going to do it? Anyway, calling me a Satanist is the epitome of projection, especially from a hooker that actually was practicing witchcraft. That's pretty wild stuff. Of course, I remind people, what they say, how's it go? Judge a tree by its fruit. Now, Allie's fruit, I don't know. Dancing, victimhood, makeup, her mother, I don't know. I'm really curious, but at the same time, I don't need to be because I've seen this all before. I know where it goes. I know what this is. This is nothing but the enemy trying as hard as it can to put a new face on the Getty narrative. But unfortunately, all they've done, because of this fear thing and this reaction of these women to this harsh onslaught of my misogynist attack, they threw my name out there all over the place. They did exactly what I wanted them to do, what the enemy did not want them to do. They made it about me. It's not about me, it's about the mission. Just like it shouldn't be about her victimhood, it should be about the mission. It should be about the one she left behind. Now, again, I think that there are some bad questions that she would struggle to answer. What she saw, who she saw, why she never said anything about it. She's either going to paint a picture that's rosy compared to the reality of what's really going on, or she's just going to leave it all out. Either way, the bottom line is she's not talking about Gordon Getty. She's not talking about who she should be talking about, but for some reason she's talking about Biden. So that's either a clever marketing ploy or it's a crude misdirection. But either way, it does serve us. The nonsense with her calling me a violent Satanist or whatever it is, I'm pretty sure that's not going to stick, and I'm pretty sure that's not going to hurt the mission. Pretty sure. And it's just like being featured in a leaked porn video. I haven't seen that happen too many times where the person involved actually was hurt by it, to be honest with you. So I'm just saying, all these nasty things that she said and what have you, it just made certain people pay more attention or do more research. And if anything, you made me look scary, which is probably not a bad thing when you consider who I'm fighting. So thank you for that. Thank you for buckling down as quick as you did. And I just got to say, if you do anything that gets in the way of the mission, if you do anything to interfere with a real investigation or getting the truth out there about what's really going on, then you are fair game. And you're an adult. Just because you got this adoptive mother does not make you a child. We've all got our traumas and our sob stories, so it's no excuse. And when I asked you if you love Jesus and you said, I'm trying to, you failed. That was the wrong answer. Your witchcraft was really showing. So I can't have a lot of sympathy for you. And I can't have any more sympathy for you than the ones that you left behind and the ones that you're not trying to help. And to suggest that I'm not trying to help and that I'm somehow connected to the very evil that you were actually participating in, it's only making you look worse. So a few people have suggested if something happens to you that somehow this is going to be my fault or connected to me. I disagree. I think that the people that you're working for are the ones you're really afraid of, and I think it's probably, if you're afraid of me, it's a good thing. You should have been. And you should know that the people that are probably going to hurt you, that they're more afraid of me than you are. So if something happens, it's them. It wasn't me, it was them, because they eat their own. And they obviously don't have any care for you. And if you fail your mission, whatever it was, there won't be a whole lot of remorse. I'm not going to waste any more time on you, and I don't think I'm going to have to. I think I can let this go. The very fact that I put your name in the title is enough. But you're not alone. There's a lot of people out there like you, and I'll go back to them, I guess. But your mother, like I said, people need to investigate that person. You don't have much of a history. You're just I don't know when you stopped being a hooker, to be honest with you, but anyway, it's not okay, all right? You kind of messed up, but you did help me. So thank you for that, and credit to you for that. And that just shows that it doesn't matter what Satan does, it always kind of works in the opposite direction. So you played your role with respect to that. I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. You'll notice that I don't have Break Lady. I'm giving her a rest tonight, and I'm sure she probably was afraid I was going to say all sorts of abusive, harsh things, because when I went down on the alley here the other day, I was throwing around some harsh words. But I am going to remind people that if you want to help with the effort, especially since we're going into a new month and all, that the PayPal is Stephen Kelley 714 at yahoo.com, StevenKelley at yahoo.com. Please say friend or family, because otherwise I'll have to send it back. I'll say thank you, but I'll still have to send it back. But yeah, find the thing where it says this is going to a friend. Also, if you would like a copy of the book, if you would like healing, and I'm serious, don't wait. Or if you need to communicate with me for whatever, becoming a Jedi, whatever, please send an email to law17gun@aol.com. Law17gun at AOL.com. That's my email. The other one is my PayPal. Don't mix them up. Let's see what else. Also, let me just take a quick look at who's listening. Oh, wow, a whole bunch of you guys. Hi, guys. Let's see, who's on top? Well, we got a whole bunch of UK, of course. You guys are the only ones that seems like showing up. But I do appreciate you tuning in live, and if this is your first time listening, please go back to the YouTube channel and for the Truth Cat Radio or Stephen D. Kelley, find the old videos. There's at least 1,000 hours of content out there, and a lot of the questions that you guys have, the answers are there. Okay, and it'll save us both a lot of time if you try to go through the titles and review what you can. I know it takes a lot of time to do that. These are not 15-minute shows, but still, if you're here to learn, you're going to have to go through the homework. You're going to go through the content, do your homework, okay? And the same thing with a book. Please read the book. It's only going to take you maybe 6 hours or something to read the book. And if you can't read, there's a video out there. You can find it on YouTube. It's called Lasers, Cavers, and Magic. Watch the video. It's 3.5 hours long or something like that. Anyway, that'll answer a lot of your questions, and it'll save us both a lot of time. And you're free to share that with everybody because it's really important that you do that. Okay, get the word out there. And to all you people that have been inspired by what's going on and have stepped up your game, thank you so much for that. It does mean a lot. A lot of you got to see a side of me that you're not used to. And you kind of realized how serious I am about this stuff. And you kind of realized what makes me tick a little bit in more detail. And so that's a good thing because you're not the only one. The enemy got to see it too. But that's just the way it is. So I'm going to go back to trying my best to keep in, well, let's just say as non-violent or as I don't mean violent, but I'll tone it down a bit. You know, I'll try to take on a little less Rambo and a little more Monk, if you know what I mean. But we are in the days of Rambo, so it's no fear. Fight, fight, fight. All right? Okay, Allie, you had your 15 minutes. Good luck in the future. Your mother, we'll learn what we can about you. The rest of you, keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much. Send me your support if you can. I appreciate it. If you don't, it's okay. I don't have any merch, unlike Allie here. I'm not selling any merch. And I'm not mixing a career and a mission. This is just mission, okay? That's just the way it is. So again, all of you guys are listening. You're still here. Thank you so much. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, please make a comment. Please like the thing, but mostly make that comment, okay? Make a comment. Make 2 comments. I read those things, all right? I appreciate it. And send it to your friends. Share it. And go look at the other stuff and share it too. All right? Okay, then. Once again, my name is Stephen Kelley. This is the Stephen D. Kelley Show. It's now 6:59 p.m. How about that? Where I'm sitting. It's still December 2nd, 2021. We are Truth Cat Radio. www.truthcatradio.com, and you've been listening to Allie Carter, victim, survivor, or accomplice, material witness. I think I'm going to go with 60%, 70, 80% accomplice, material witness. And victim, survivor, it's a smaller portion, but they're all victim survivors down there. But they're also accomplices and material witnesses, so we need those answers. All right, guys, thanks for listening. My name is Stephen Kelley. This is Stephen D. Kelley Show. Thank you so much for listening, you guys. I'll see you all next week, God willing. So I'm going to say good night, God bless, adios, and goodbye.